So we're finally getting into the Hades backstory with this chapter, and we're being told this through Ares' perspective. He's answering the question here, who is Hades to the other gods? And so he starts with, it's easy to single out his overwhelming prowess and his complete control over the Bident, but that's not where his true nature lies. He's both king of the Netherworld, whose name many gods don't even dare take in vain, and at the same time the god whom other gods rely on the most. So immediately I think this is a very interesting choice of words coming from Ares, especially considering the fact that Hades wasn't even listed as one of the original 13 god fighters meant to fight in Ragnarok, right? And I mean, we can really only ever guess at this point as to why Hades wasn't listed to fight to begin with. It's not like we've been told any specific reason why, despite Ares describing him like this absolute trump card. But then Ares continues and starts talking about the Gigantomachy. So unlike the Titanomachy, which was mentioned in chapter 9, this is going all the way back to round 2, where we see Zeus defeat Kronos and eventually overthrow the Titans. We're now learning about the Gigantomachy, and we get this illustration of the Gigantomachy itself. You can even see Adamas's face is scribbled out in this painting next to where Poseidon is. And I really like this next scene. It's taking place at Olympus Castle, and we're seeing Ares getting rushed to treatment for his wounds by a bunch of doctors, and he's saying, hurry, please heal my wounds quick. I must get back to the front lines as soon as possible. Our troops alone won't be able to fend them off. And again, I really like this scene where we see bits of Ares in the past, right? It's just nice to see him almost like a different character here. It's very reminiscent of Heracles' backstory from round 4. And to be honest, I know he's mostly used as a gag character, but as you know, Ares, the god of war, I'm just glad we're at least getting some kind of lore to his character here. So then we get some more narration going back to chapter 9, and we're actually seeing now a young Zeus after he had defeated Kronos and took the throne. And immediately he reminds me so much of young Bang, right? I don't know, just the way he looks so unstoppable, like he's the smug younger brother. But then we get a really solid explanation here for what exactly the Gigantomachy is. It says, long ago in the tournament to decide the strongest in the cosmos, the Titanomachy, Zeus defeated his father Kronos and so won complete sovereignty over the realm of the Greek gods. However, the primordial goddess Gaia, unable to accept this outcome, led her own spawn and the mightiest race in the heavens, the giants, in an all-out war, and thus the Gigantomachy began. So by overthrowing his father, this ultimately led to the Greek gods fighting for the second time now. And instead of titans, it's this race of giants being led by this goddess called Gaia, and they almost just look indescribable, right? Like, I'm not sure exactly how to describe them, but they all just look like monsters. But apparently they're proving to be so strong that the Greeks are getting overwhelmed now. And you can even see them getting closer and closer to Olympus Castle now. We're then cutting back to Zeus again at what looks like some kind of meeting to discuss the current situation. And we're even seeing Adamas here. We're seeing all 4 of the brothers, including Hermes and Ares, talking about the giants, and then Hermes is the one to answer Zeus here and says there's essentially nothing they can do. And Ares is pretty much agreeing here. Adamas starts taunting Zeus, trying to tease Zeus as the chief god. So we know for a fact this is taking place before Adamas's talk with Poseidon, right? So there's apparently some time that takes place between Zeus becoming chief god of the Greeks and whenever Adamas just gets fed up and Poseidon tried to kill him. But then Zeus just says, I think we've got no choice but to pummel them with all our being. So again, Adamas is just irritated by this. Zeus sends out Hermes to tell the other gods to prepare to fight, and he just leaves the meeting to go out and look for the giants. And at this point, all of the other brothers start to head out as well until we're finally seeing Hades now, and he's being notified personally by one of his men that the Titans in Tartarus have broken out. So these Titans were apparently imprisoned after losing in the Titanomachy, but now that the giants are attacking the heavens, they're able to somehow break free in Helheim. And just like the giants, the Titans also just look like monsters, right? But because the Titans are coming from Helheim and the giants are already attacking, it's like the Greeks are getting flanked by both sides now. And because I also doubt the Bifrost even exists yet, it's like there's nothing stopping the Titans from entering Valhalla. So because Hades rules over Helheim, I'm assuming this is why it's being specifically told to Hades and not Zeus or any of the other brothers. And because it's most likely Helheim that'll get attacked by the Titans first before Valhalla does, I guess it just makes sense why Hades is shouldering this burden of handling the issue himself as another chief god. And throughout this whole chapter, it's easy to notice how he's not there just for Zeus when he needs him, but also for Adamas when he saved his life from Poseidon, and he's even fighting in Ragnarok to avenge Poseidon. So it's very clear how much he wants to be there for each of them. And this also reminds me a lot of Chin's backstory, right? Because just like in Chin's backstory in his fight against Chiyo, we saw that Chin wasn't willing to give up 10,000 of his own people to become the emperor of China. So just like Hades, they're both showing selflessness for some purpose that they put higher than themselves themselves, but even more than that, they're both willing to choose the harder way out if it means they can achieve their goals. So as Zeus and the other Greek gods clear out the giants in heaven, we see Poseidon ask the same guy from earlier where Hades is, and he tells him straight up that Hades went and fought off the Titans in Helheim all on his own. And then when we see Hades again, I'm really curious if this is the Bifrost that we're seeing here, right? I mean, it doesn't look like it, but I guess it also makes sense that Hades fought them all off at the exit, and of course it doesn't even look like the Bifrost in chapter 55, but we're seeing Poseidon meet Hades here, and he hears him whistling the same song from before. So as they start talking, Poseidon tells him the same thing that I just said about Hades being willing to shoulder the burden for his brothers, because clearly if he needed any help he should have reached out, but instead he tells Poseidon here, he says, "Poseidon, I swear that I will not lose to anyone. As the elder brother I shan't be defeated." And I really like this moment here, because it seemed like throughout round 3 the one thing that bothered Poseidon the most was all the other gods in the arena, and maybe this could help explain his relationship with Hades, since Hades just cared for him like a brother rather than a god, because even Zeus didn't seem too heartbroken after he died, so maybe that brother to brother relationship was something that only Hades gave him, especially considering that Adamas was willing to kill Zeus. It's like Poseidon learned about caring for them because of Hades, and this also helps explain why Poseidon didn't technically kill Adamas. Maybe he knew killing Adamas was the kind of thing Hades wouldn't be able to forgive, and who knows, maybe that's why Adamas and Zeus are so cool by the end of the chapter. Maybe it was Hades all along who kept them together. So I'm really enjoying the different layers we're getting with this backstory. There's so much value here that can touch on so many different characters. So we're getting back to the arena now. Ares, Hermes, and Zeus are talking over everything we just went over, but we're then seeing someone else enter the VIP room, and it's Adamas. And of course Ares is just freaking out by this, and even myself, I did not expect Adamas to make his entrance like this, but I didn't really know what to expect, but I just love seeing everyone's reaction to this. Again, Zeus and Adamas seem like they're on good terms. You can tell there's some tension there, but then we get a very interesting line from Hermes. He says, "It's good to see you in good health, Adamas. I mean Adamantine." So I know his formal name is now Adamantine. I'm just gonna call him Adamas here to keep things simple, but thankfully Hermes gives us the breakdown here. He says, "Poseidon thoroughly dealt with Adamas, but afterwards on orders from Hades I went to help him, though the one who did the most to heal him was Beelzebub. If he had truly meant it, there wouldn't be a shroud of Adamas left. Adamas, the 13th god of Olympus, had been completely annihilated, but now in Helheim, he is doing perfectly well as the new god Adamantine." So as Adamantine, Beelzebub was able to recover his body thanks to Hades, and apparently now lives in Helheim by a completely different name. And even though Zeus calls him Adamas, it's clear that Poseidon wiped him out from history still, so there's a lot of moving parts going on here, right? There's just so much going on here with Hermes and Beelzebub. It just goes so much further than just this backstory. But then Adamas answers Hermes' question from earlier. He says, "You were wondering why Hades frets over his brother so much. He ain't got any reason. Only thing he needs is his love for us, his love for his brothers." So coming to the end of this chapter, I think this is just an amazing backstory. It reminds me a lot of Shiva in a way, like how Hades fights for others rather than his own benefit, right? But in terms of who's the better king, I still think Chin has that advantage over him. It's not like Hades is fighting for Helheim or Valhalla, in the same sense that Chin is fighting to be the best king to ever exist. It seems like Hades is doing this for a more personal reason than Chin. But having said that, I can still see the win going to either side. There's just so much potential for Hades now as a future character, and I'm just so happy that we're finally here, right? It took a while to see this chapter get translated, but now that we're here, it's nice to see so much get done in a single chapter, and thankfully it's only a few days until we get the spoilers for chapter 63, so I think we're now finally getting into endgame territory here. But that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, this chapter did not disappoint. I think I'm probably going to make a follow-up video to this to fully explain all of the 4 brothers, so if that sounds like something that you want to see, then make sure you subscribe. I'll also be covering the next chapter spoilers in the next couple days, but that's going to be it for me, guys. If you liked what I had to say, then please leave a like. I'd greatly appreciate it, and feel free to let me know in the comments what you think, anything you agreed or disagreed with. And again, if you're interested in more Record of Ragnarok, then make sure you subscribe. I'll be doing more videos here on the channel like always. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day.